Warren, welcome to InvestorStream for the first time. Really keen to understand a little bit more about your growing order book, but before we delve into the recent contracts that you've secured, can you take us through the technology behind Carbonxt's Activated Carbon Pellets, how it works, and the sectors where it's most applicable?
Yeah, thanks for that. Well, activated carbon is a well-known filtration material. Basically, it's got a very high surface area, so thousands of little holes, if you like, punched into a carbon material. And in those holes, pollutants are captured. What are our pelletized products? They're just pelletized versions of that activated carbon, and we've created special binders to hold that material together in pellet form. We are the only manufacturer of pellets in the US, which is where all of our revenue is based. In terms of where the pellets are utilised, our biggest contract at the moment is the cleanest coal-fired power station in the US, and we capture sulphur dioxide, nitrous oxide and mercury capture from that power station. But our pellets also have wide applications in water and wastewater and many industrial applications, including organic compounds. So wide applications, but simply put, we capture pollutants from the air and water.
Okay, great. So I'd like to turn to the clean tech sector itself, if I may. There's obviously a lot of focus on being clean and green, and it's attracting huge investment. Carbonxt has a revenue base, it has customers, and clearly a valuable clean tech solution. How has the net zero by 2050 push impacted your business? And while you referenced the strong macro tailwinds, how is it actually driving your particular business?
A very interesting question. I mean, we certainly noticed a massive change in the sector and ESG interest in our stock since the election of President Biden. And in itself, we're noticing that impact on the types of legislation that are coming through in the US. As I mentioned before, everything we do is about cleaning up the environment. It's to take pollutants out of our air and water streams. So everything bears a part of that net zero drive because, for instance, if we replace certain types of pellets, we're replacing another material, then that may improve efficiency, drive electricity prices, usage down, and which in turn drives the emissions of that product down. So what they call scope 2 emissions is definitely a big part of what we do. We're also inventing new products that actually go there and develop new technologies to reduce the very high compounding CO2 emission products. And we're looking a lot of that expertise in that area at the moment. So things that are even more pollutant than methane, for instance, which is 21 times CO2. There's various products that we're developing in that field to target those kind of pollutants as well.
Okay, so the recent $3 million US in orders that you've secured, there are clear bellwethers of a pickup in activity as the US economy starts to gather pace again. I understand this customer now speaks for $5 million US in orders. Do you have concentration risk here, and how are you expanding into new sectors?
I think it would be fair to say we've got a bit of concentration risk when you've got, one customer who's been driving that much sales so soon. That's great, but in many respects, it's got us back to where we were pre-COVID, which is great as well. But, we've already announced an expansion of our pellet capacity in Kentucky. That plant should be on later this year. That will give us capacity to double our revenue just from that one source of material. That in itself will reduce the concentration risk. But our clear intent is to grow into industrial pellet sales that are outside the key customer base that we have now. We actually believe that we've probably got enough customers. We've actually got to get the products to those customers, and that's what we're doing with this Kentucky expansion.
Finally, before you go, Warren, can you give us a quick update on the HydRestor technology, the pilot programs you have here, and the type of markets this opens up?
HydRestor is a nutrient pellet. What we're doing is we're capturing phosphate and nitrogen runoff into waterways. And that's something that's global in addressable market. But in this particular instance, we're focusing on some rules that have come in the state of Florida to remove those pollutants from the waterways. So we're actually taking that out of the waterways, which in turn stops things like algae blooms. We've all heard of those kind of blooms, but in Florida, they have specific problems off the coast with what's called red tide. And we believe that our product can break that up as well and capture that. So this is things like farm runoffs and industrial runoffs into water. We basically clean up that water and then reuse that water. And the phosphate nitrogen compounds are captured in our pellets and are never released again.
Fantastic, Warren. Some really interesting developments here, and we will be keeping a very close eye on how they progress over the coming months. But thanks very much for joining me.
Well, thanks, Alex. Thanks for the opportunity.